A couple of months ago, we went with our confirmation class to the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York City for an overnight experience, and it's called Night Watch. And it's called Night Watch because we came there on Friday evening and then had programs downstairs, but then the big, amazing program is going into the cathedral and going into workshops, doing drumming workshop, doing workshops around Bible passages, walking the labyrinth, and singing together, and doing a treasure hunt in this huge cathedral, like finding out all the different places. It's huge, it's humongous. And the highlight of the whole experience was communion or Eucharist or the Last Supper right in the front of the cathedral with the dean of the cathedral present at midnight. At midnight. The lights all dark, turned off. Every one of us received a candle. We lit the candle, and we walked to the front and placed it in a stand with all the other candles as a symbol of that we all shine, we all reflect that light of Christ that is in us, or the inner light. We all participate in that. And after placing that light, we went into celebrating Holy Communion. Well, I tell you what, there were some rambunctious teenagers there. And I felt like putting my hand on their shoulder, maybe squeezing a little bit, or kind of shooing them down. But I did not. You know, the right thing would have been like, go to their chaperones, just like we were chaperones with our group. So in hindsight, I thought, why didn't you do that, Dietmar? Because, hey, could have done it. So why was I just hoping it'll go away and we'll all survive and they're teenagers and it'll all be okay? Well, it was all okay, no big deal, but the nudge, the thing of letting it happen, letting it go on, or kind of being a little bit more courageous and saying like, well, let me say something, or let me talk to their chaperones and do that. And that doesn't come easy for me. And part of it is I grew up in communist, socialist, and it was like if you stick your neck too much out, if you speak up for things, you may end up in prison. So I'm kind of conditioned, like watching my back. Or like recently, I had a friend going to Washington, D.C. They just love to go there once in a while. They walked on the National Mall. And he said, you know what? We walked by this reflective pool. It was a beautiful, beautiful stroll. But he was hesitant to touch the water, lest alone go in or pull some paint or whatever, inspect the paint. So he was very cautious. And we all have that in us, this kind of, and I'm not telling anyone, please stay away from that pool. I don't want anyone to get in trouble. And often fear is a good guide of self-protection. Like, yes, you better look both ways before you cross the street because you can get hit. You look both ways or look twice for motorcycles because they're easier to overlook or not to see. And we try to be cautious. So fear can protect us and is a very important instinct. My question is, where and how far can fear drive us and not just protect us, but confine us to where maybe we're called to stand up, be present, say our piece, and be courageous, because courage is never the absence of fear or of anxiety or so. Courage is always fear that does it anyway, or as Anne Lamott, I think, said, fear that says it's prayers. Do it anyway. So, how does that relate to our situation? So Jesus is sending out the disciples, and he says, right before this passage, there's a lot of work to do. And pray for God to send workers. That's the call. There's a lot of work to do, so let's find people to go into the harvest to do the good work that is God's work to be done. And then he says, won't be easy. Sometimes you may feel like a sheep among wolves. So what do you do then? Well, sheep probably gather together. It's easier to be not a lonely sheep, but to be together in a flock or in a herd to be protected. And Jesus says, you know what? Be smart and be peaceful. So smart as the serpents, as the snakes, they're a symbol for wisdom. So just be aware what you're doing. Don't just act out. And let your intent, your deepest motivation, also be a peaceful one. And Martin Luther King Jr. lived that in a sense of nonviolence. Never threaten, never attack, never oppose the person for the person who they are, but have your intention at heart be peaceful. And where and how are we called to speak, to be present, to be part of doing that? This is how I understand Jesus at the core. And we have different images of Jesus. At the core of how I hear the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all four Gospels, I see Jesus as standing with those who are hurting, who are vulnerable. Those who are hurting, those who are vulnerable. Jesus is standing with them. Jesus is not maintain status quo, don't speak up. Jesus is not, that's not who he is. He stands for those who are hurting, who are vulnerable. And let's look at our history as a country and the world. Would we have human rights? Would we have civil rights? Would we have women's rights? Would we have LGBTQ plus rights? Would we have rights for people with disabilities? Would we have any of those rights if not people like you and I stood with those who were vulnerable, for those who needed help, who needed a voice? Would we have any of that if good people like you and I would not be present and supporting them? So, where does that leave us? It's never easy to be that voice. It's not comfortable to show up when things matter. And during a challenging time and transformative time in our congregation, I went back to Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail. What he pointed out is not just what was the right thing to do and lifting people up and standing with them. What he was concerned about is the great silent majority. That was his greatest concern. Many good, wonderful things do not happen because people don't show up, stand up, and speak up. Many good things don't happen. And bad things happen again if people don't show up, stand up, speak up. So, my friends, for doing the right thing, we face adversity. Where and how are you called to show up, to stand up, to speak up, even when it's not easy? I remember us going on that night watch experience, and those rambunctious teenagers, I felt like putting my hand on their shoulder and all. I didn't do it. I think maybe I should have. Would have been the right thing to do. Where and how is that conversation going on in you? Where and how are you called? To be courageous, which is not the absence of being concerned and feared, but courage that does it anyway. Where and how?